It's time for the Lee's Photography Coach's Corner. Live from Lee's Photography in downtown Ottumwa. Here's your host, Jason Van Arkel.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome into another edition of the Lee's Photography Coach's Corner, live from Lee's Photography in downtown Ottumwa on 1240 AM, 102.7 FM KBIZ, and a live video stream right now at OttumwaRadioSports.com. We have reached week 9 of the high school football season, the final week of the regular season. And in our show tonight, we'll talk with the usual suspects, of course. We've got joining me in the first segment, Ottumwa High head coach Brian Goodvin. We have 5 players joining us tonight as well. Drake Handling, Jose Yepes, Tanner Holman, also Andrew Cole, and Cameron Jones will be joining us tonight as the Bulldogs get ready for their trip to Mason City. A little bit later on in the hour, we'll talk to Davis County head coach Kent Anderson as his team gets ready for senior night when they take on Central Lee. And then later on this hour, we'll talk Cardinal football, and tonight we'll get to talk to their assistant coach, Rich Mason, as they get ready for their season finale, taking on BGM. As we always do, though, we'll start off by running down this week's schedule. Again, the final week of the 2019 season, and this is what we're looking at tomorrow night. Ottumwa, as we mentioned, on the road at Mason City, a 7:30 kick. You'll hear it right here on KBIZ, or you'll see it right here on the video stream at OttumwaRadioSports.com. Davis County's senior night, as we mentioned, versus Central Lee. That's a 7 o'clock kickoff tomorrow night down in Bloomfield. You'll be able to watch that on the live video stream at OttumwaRadioSports.com. Van Buren closes its season at home, taking on Wilton. Senior night for the Warriors, a 7 o'clock kickoff on 92.7 KTWA. Pekin ends the year with a long road trip to Durant. They'll kick off at 7 on 101.5 KISS FM. And Centerville, with an outside shot at least tying for a district title and pushing for a playoff spot, Centerville ends at home against a Class 2A defending champion, PCM. That'll be a 7:30 kick down in Centerville. You'll hear it on 97.7 Tom FM. Other area games tomorrow night, Cardinal, as we mentioned, ends at home versus BGM. Albia has to travel to Mid-Prairie. Eddyville, Blakesburg, Fremont on the road at Williamsburg. Fairfield's at home versus Solon. Oskaloosa welcomes South Tama. Sigourney Keota has a game for a district title. They're at home taking on Mediapolis. And then in 8-man football, Moravia ends at home versus Lennox. And Twin Cedars is on the road at AGWSR. And I think I got those 5 letters in order. Some of those consolidated schools are a bit interesting at times. All right, let's get into Ottumwa High football, and we're joined, as we mentioned, by head coach Brian Goodvin, wide receiver and backup quarterback Drake Handling, kicker Jose Yepes. Just off screen, he'll join us in a few minutes, center Tanner Holman. And in our second segment, we'll talk to defensive end Cameron Jones and safety Andrew Cole. But Brian, let's start off, obviously, what a great win on senior night, 37-34. Over Des Moines East. You beat a rival. You finally break the losing streak. You send the seniors out on the right note for the second straight year, I might add. You won at senior night last year as well. What I want to start with is you came out of that 3-week stretch against what we call the purple teams, and last Friday night you're down double digits 2 different times against East. What does it say about your kids that they were able to rally back and not only fight back in that game, but after 6 weeks of frustration, fight back and find a way to get a big win on senior night?
Well, I think they finally took to heart the stuff that we've been preaching to them all year as far as playing one play at a time, not worrying about what the scoreboard says, and just trying to do the best job that they can do each play and have a mental focus and a mental toughness to allow them to do that, and they did that Friday night.
Your offense racks up 413 yards. You get 351 of them on the ground. Obviously, Kai Glosser and Gage Cole had big nights. They end up with the big stats and the touchdowns. But I want to talk about the offensive line, and I know Coach Kanselar would love for me to talk more about the O-line. It looked like everything came together for them, and everything that, when he's been on the show, everything he's talked about them doing this year, it looked like that all came together for them at the right time.
Oh, that's pretty obvious. You can't run the ball, 60-plus times in a football game without your offensive line doing an outstanding job. And I think they're starting to come together as a unit, understanding the rules, that we've got them playing under as far as, who to block, when, how to get there. And Friday night, like I said, it all came together for them, and they opened up a lot of running lanes for Kai and Gage, and they ran the ball hard and did a super job.
Now, I've heard many offensive line players, the college level, pro level, and the high school level as well, talk about the need for familiarity among all 5 members of that offensive line. You've had some moving pieces there on the line this year, but I think you've kind of had mostly the same unit for a few weeks now. Is there something to be said for those guys having a few weeks to work together, kind of coming together?
Oh, I think so. And just understanding, as an entire team that we need to focus on this play and then this play, and not worry about who's carrying the ball, who's blocking. The kids kind of have developed that mentality, and they get after it now on every play.
All right, you didn't need a big night in the passing game, but Adam Denniston was efficient. 9 of 15, that's 60%. 62 yards. You had Trey Swartz back. He was a threat. He ends up finding the end zone in his first game back from injury. Is this maybe how you kind of envision the offense to look all year? I know you wanted to have that tough, strong ground game that Ottumwa's been known for so many years, and then the passing game able to complement it at just the right time?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Our passing game is pretty much precedented off of our run game, play action, misdirection type of an offense. And when you get the running game going, that's going to open up the passing game. And Adam did a nice job of ball fakes and taking care of that. So that's exactly what we're looking for, that toughness in the running game.
All right, now let's talk about the play that everybody's going to want to talk about for a long, long time. You come back in the game, you're tied at 34, under a minute to go. Your team has not even attempted a field goal all season, and you call on your senior, Jose Yepes, to try to give you the lead. What gave you the confidence, I should say, to call his number with the game on the line?
Well, there's a lot of factors that came into that. I know that Jose, from the right hash, all year long in practice has been banging him through from that side. He likes that. I knew our defense was playing much, much better there in the second half. I think they gave up one score in the second half, and it was an 80-yard touchdown run to one of their great athletes that they're going to do those types of things against whoever they play once they get loose. And and being tied, obviously plays a factor into that too. We could always play, the overtime period and win it that way. But, that's kind of that was the right formula, I guess. Or when you watch enough TV, football on TV, and you see them milking the clock down to kick that last field goal. And I'll give Coach Schoen some credit. He called a timeout there with 26 seconds left, I believe, to not allow us to do it on the last play of the game. So we had to, then kick off to them and hold on with the great athletes that they have. That was quite the challenge, and the defense came up and did a super job.
Again, the win 37-34, and we'll talk maybe a little bit more about that game and then get into the Mason City game in just a few minutes. Let's move down the line here. Drake Handling, wide receiver and backup quarterback, senior team captain. And I want to ask you, first off, about getting a win on senior night over Des Moines East. Last year, you guys, as we mentioned, were able to send that senior class out with a win at home. So how did it feel last Friday night when your guys were able to rally from behind and give your senior class a big send-off and a big win in your final home game?
It felt really good because the weeks before them were pretty tough weeks, and we had a good week of practice leading into the game against East. And we knew if we did all the things that we were supposed to, we could beat them. And when we were down, we didn't get down on each other. We just kept fighting and kept doing the things we needed to get the win.
You talk about having a good week of practice. What was, as a captain, as one of the members of the Leadership Council, what did you say to the guys about bouncing back from that Waukee game, which obviously we just want to put in the memory bin, and not even the memory bin, just push it back and forget about it. What allowed you guys to get past that and come up with, maybe one of the best efforts you've had all season?
Well, Goodvin says every week that we're 0-0, so just forget about the weeks before and focus on the week that we have coming up. And we knew the game against East was a very winnable game, and we all knew that, so we just had a great week of practice, and we just kept fighting.
And I would imagine you'd have the exact same philosophy this week. You're coming off a big win, you're coming off an emotional high, but the season's not over. You got to go on the road and face a Mason City team that they're hungry for a win too. So I imagine the same philosophy applies. You're 0-0.
Yep. He said, Goodvin says that they're not going to take it easy on us just because we're going there and we got the win last week. Mason City's going to have the same mindset we did against East. It's their senior night, and they're going to want to get a win on senior night.
Drake Handling, wide receiver and backup quarterback for Ottumwa High. And Drake, I'll ask you to pass the headset down now to the hero of last Friday night, Jose Yepes, senior kicker, who drilled the 26-yard field goal under pressure, tie game, 26 seconds to go, hits the game winner as Ottumwa wins 37-34. Jose, welcome to the show. Good to have you with us. That wasn't your first career field goal. You made one last year.
Yeah.
But as we said, there hadn't been a field goal attempt all season until that moment. How were you able to focus and get the job done, knowing that when you went out there, you were basically going out there to either win the game or you guys were going to have to go to overtime?
I feel really nervous about the field goal that I kicked. I feel like I was going to miss, or if I miss it, then we go to overtime. But I think everyone support me, the team, and thanks to God that helped me that I scored the field goal as the winning.
And you talk about that support. Now you've been splitting time kicking with Brian Carapia this year. He's had chances. You've had chances. How much did that mean to you that on senior night in that moment your coach said, "Hey, I want you to make this kick"?
Feel pretty good on senior night. That it's my last home game and last game too. For me in Ottumwa, but I still need for soccer season too. But still focusing on football though, and.
Well, it's certainly a great way to end the football portion of your career at Schaefer Stadium, and who knows, maybe we'll get another opportunity to make a big kick tomorrow night when you guys take on Mason City. Jose Yepes, again, the senior kicker who hit the game-winning field goal. And, Jose, now I'm going to ask you, we've got 5 players tonight, so we've got to do a little chair shifting here. Jose, if you would hand the headset to Tanner Holman and switch spots with him, and we'll bring in the Bulldogs senior center and team captain. And as Tanner gets settled in, Tanner, last week I asked you if it would mean a bit more to beat East on senior night, and you said, yeah, it probably would. Can you describe how it felt when the clock ran out and you'd actually pulled it off?
Well, I just knew that's something I'm never going to forget, that game. That's probably the most exciting game I've ever played in my entire life. But our offensive line was pretty good all night, got 350 yards, and it just felt good to roll the guys and come back from that long 3-game stretch from all them. So.
And I'll ask you kind of the same question I asked Drake. You had that great emotional high, you get the big win, but it's not over. You've got to go on the road, you've got to sit on a bus for 3 hours and then go play a Mason City team that's 0-8, but you know that they're dying to get a win, just kind of like you guys were dying to get a win last Friday night. So how long, I guess, did you let yourself enjoy that emotional high, and then at what point did you say, all right, I got to come back down, I got to refocus?
I took it into about Saturday morning, and then when we got to watch the film of the game on Huddle, got that all taken care of, and then after that it's on to our next week, preparing and watching film from another team, see who we're going against.
All right, well, tomorrow night we're all going up to Mason City. We've all got to share that long drive together and hopefully share the long drive home with a victory tomorrow night when Ottumwa takes on Mason City. Again, Tanner Holman, Bulldogs center. Again, that's Drake Handling, and that's Ottumwa High head coach Brian Goodvin. Jose Yepes just stepped off camera, but he's joined us on the first segment as well. Coming up, we'll do one more segment on Ottumwa football. Coach Goodvin will stay with us, and we'll talk to a couple of the defensive standouts for Ottumwa, Andrew Cole and Cameron Jones. That comes your way next on the Lee's Photography Coach's Corner, live from Lee's Photography in downtown Ottumwa on the Ottumwa Radio Sports Network.
Are you looking for someone to capture the special moments in life, such as senior photos, weddings, family portraits, baby pictures, or even your furry friends? Look no further than Lee's Photography in Ottumwa to schedule your appointment. Brian, Connie, and the staff at Lee's Photography have the knowledge and experience to capture your special moments and make your vision come to life. Visit them on Facebook to see the range of their work. Lee's Photography on East 2nd Street, across from the Courier in Ottumwa, for all your all-around photography needs. Welcome back to the Lee's Photography Coach's Corner on the Ottumwa Radio Sports Network.
And we continue with the Lee's Photography Coaches Corner, live from Lee's Photography in downtown Ottumwa. And again, we want to thank Brian and everybody here at Lee's Photography for sponsoring the Coaches Corner here in 2019. Jason Van Arkel with you on the air on 1240 AM, 102.7 FM KBIZ, and a live video stream at AttumwaRadioSports.com. OHS head coach Brian Goodwin still with us, and joined now by safety Andrew Cole and defensive end Cameron Jones. And we'll talk just a little bit more about the win over East on last Friday night. And Brian, defensively, a tale of two halves. You give up 26 points in the first half, but only one more score after halftime. And as you mentioned, it was just one 80-yard play. And other than that, your defense played really well in the second half. So what adjustments did you make? What allowed the defense to slow East down in those final two quarters?
Well, Coach Kern and Lawrence and Hopkins really did a super job at halftime getting the kids in the right spots, and they responded. We did a little shifting around with defensive end-wise, got KJ in there, and Colton Carnahan a little bit undersized at defensive end, but just knew that they were, very quick, fast football team, and used that to our advantage.
All right, now we look ahead to tomorrow night in Mason City, and we already said this a couple of times. They're 0-8, but you got to think they've got a whole lot to play for. It's their senior night. They're trying to avoid not just 0-9 this year. They were 0-9 last year. They want to avoid that 2 years in a row. And they probably feel like they missed an opportunity when they lost here a year ago, because that was the closest game that they had. So I'm pretty sure you haven't had to say too much to the guys about motivation, but you've probably told them that they certainly can't assume this will be any kind of an easy game.
Oh, exactly. We're not in any position to assume any game's going to be an easy game. We start every week 0-0, focusing on what we have to do to improve and get the win on Friday nights. And I know Mason City's got a new head football coach this year, so they're completely different offensively. Watching them on film, they've got a lot of big, strong kids that defensively they really get after the football. They've done a nice job. They held East to 17 points the other night, and that's not an easy task right there.
Now, this is by far the longest road trip Ottumwa takes, and the second time this decade we've had to go up there, and we haven't had any trips longer than this drive to Mason City. That last time, 2013, it was a disaster in a lot of ways. We had the rain delays. We didn't start until after 10 o'clock. We had another delay in the first half, didn't finish till 12:30, and we lost the game 17-14. Thankfully, we don't have to deal with the weather delays tomorrow night. Cross our fingers, right. Knock on wood and all that. But the kids still have to sit on a bus for over 3 hours, and then they have to get off the bus, get dressed, get themselves fired up, and play a game. Is that long bus ride much of a factor, or am I overthinking that?
Well, I think no, you're not overthinking it. Sitting on a bus for 3 hours is definitely physically draining on you. We're going to break it up a little bit. We're going to actually stop in Marshalltown and get on their practice field there and do a little bit of a walk through and eat lunch on our way up and give the kids a chance to stretch out and move around a little bit, and then get back on the bus and head on up to Mason City. So that'll break it up right there about the halfway point. And I think it'll be a good time to stretch out and get our minds right.
Is that an idea you came up with maybe based on the last time we went up there? Did we do that last time?
Well, when I was coaching with Coach Kapatich and here in Ottumwa, we'd make frequent trips to Sioux City. And we'd always stop in Walnut, and they wouldn't necessarily do a walkthrough. They'd get a buffet. And that's the halfway point there. But it gets them out, gets them stretched out, and moving around a little bit, and then back on the bus for the rest of the trip. And so that's kind of where that idea came from.
Well, it sounds like a good idea. And if you can break that trip up, I'm just thinking about my drive up there, which, not going to affect me the way it might affect a football player. I don't have to go out there and play, but I'm going to break that up. And certainly, if I need to do that, the players certainly need to do that as well.
Yep.
Speaking of the players, let's move on down here to senior safety Andrew Cole, another one of the team captains. And Andrew, you were here last week, and I asked you how special your senior night would be, especially getting to share it with Gage. What are you going to remember most about last Friday night?
I want to remember the field goal. It was just watching that thing go through was amazing. It just felt nice to get a win.
When you're down, I think 20-6, 20-7, you're down 26-14, I think it was, and you rally from two double-digit deficits, and then you go ahead briefly, then they go back ahead, and you got to tie the game again. What was it you think that allowed you guys to just keep coming back in that game? Because East probably a couple times thought, hey, we've just about got them. You guys just kept coming back. What allowed you to do that?
Just don't pay attention to the scoreboard. Take it one play at a time. Leave it all on the field.
And then you're probably giving me the exact same answer, but I'll ask anyway. After that emotional high, after that field and see that field go through, and then you hang on the final play and you win the game, how do you come back down from that and get and get refocused? Or is there maybe some momentum that you can carry through? You can carry something from last week, carry it through to tomorrow night?
You know, you watch the game like on film and like get all that out of your system, and then just be confident in yourself every week.
All right, Andrew Cole, Ottumwa High safety, about to play final game of his Bulldog career tomorrow night at Mason City, and he'll hand the headset now to defensive end Cameron Jones, who really stepped up in that East game. 4.5 tackles, a tackle for loss. Coach Goodvin said kind of moved him into that defensive end spot and really able to make a big impact on the game. Now, you were playing your last game at Schaefer Stadium as well, and before the game started, did you maybe tell yourself before the game that, this is your last time out there, you want to leave it all on the field? Or what was it that allowed you to come in when you did and make such an impact on that game, especially in the second half?
Well, just all the positive energy that we all had on the sidelines, and the confidence that all the coaches gave us during practice that week, and just the confidence that we got from everybody else that's on the sidelines with us.
You talk about that confidence. I'm sure that's carried through in practice this week. You're getting ready for Mason City. Obviously, we talked about you can't overlook them. You know you're going to get probably the best effort that they can possibly put on the field. How do you guys match that?
Well, every week is 0-0. We go in. We use probably some of the energy that we had from last week's win and used it in practice and just went hard this week's practice. And we're just trying to match the energy and go up there and do our thing.
And then finally, like the rest of the seniors, you're going to go out and play your final game for Ottumwa High tomorrow night at Mason City. When it's all over with, what do you think you're going to remember the most about your time in an Ottumwa uniform?
Just I don't know, being there with all the people that I've known for this amount of time. Coming in, I was a little bit hard decided on what I wanted to do, if I wanted to even play football, but my friends got me out, and then once I started playing, I just started liking it more and more. So I just thought, being able to do what I did last game and everything, I thought, yeah, this was a pretty good season for me. So
Cameron Jones, again, maybe coming on at the right time with, again, a big game defensively, helping Ottumwa defeat Des Moines East last Friday night. He'll start at defensive end this Friday night, tomorrow night at Mason City. Andrew Cole will be starting at safety, and head coach Brian Goodvin will be on the sidelines. And, Brian, we've got tomorrow night's game. The next week we'll have a wrap-up show, and hopefully you'll be back next week. Get rid of the rest of that cough, and that, which I've got too. I'm trying to fight that myself, but hopefully come back and have a win to talk about and a good way to wrap up the season when we convene here next Thursday.
Sounds like a good idea.
All right, that does it for our Ottumwa High segment here on the Lee's Photography Coaches Corner. Coming up next, we'll switch gears and talk Davis County football with their head coach Kent Anderson, as Davis County has senior night tomorrow night taking on Central Lee. That comes your way next on the Lee's Photography Coaches Corner here on the Ottumwa Radio Sports Network.
Are you looking for someone to capture the special moments in life, such as senior photos, weddings, family portraits, baby pictures, or even your furry friends? Look no further than Lee's Photography in Ottumwa to schedule your appointment. Brian, Connie, and the staff at Lee's Photography have the knowledge and experience to capture your special moments and make your vision come to life. Visit them on Facebook to see the range of their work. Lee's Photography on East 2nd Street, across from the Courier in Ottumwa, for all your all-around photography needs.
As a National Guard or Reserve member, you served your country. Now let VA serve you.
I wouldn't be here today as a successful woman without the help that I received.
Your VA honors your service by providing a wide range of veterans benefits. From home loans to job training, VA benefits can help with some of life's toughest challenges.
What's important about VA benefits is they don't just touch you as an individual. They can touch your parents, maybe your grandparents, your child.
Go to benefits.va.gov/Guard Reserve to learn more, including how to apply online using eBenefits.
I just finished a master's degree recently, and now I'm working on another degree as well. So the military made that all possible. My veterans benefits made that all possible.
No matter what the time is, apply for your benefits. You earn them. VA is ready to help you.
Achieve your next mission. Learn about and apply for your VA benefits today.
Welcome back to the Lee's Photography Coaches Corner on the Ottumwa Radio Sports Network.
And we continue with the Lee's Photography Coach's Corner here on 1240 AM, 102.7 FM KBIZ, and the live video stream at AtumwaRadioSports.com. Jason Van Arkel with you. We're now joined by Davis County head coach Kent Anderson. His team heading into the season finale tomorrow night at home, senior night for the Mustangs, taking on Central Lee. Last week, I have to ask you a few questions about the game.
Sure.
I have to admit, I wasn't quite sure what to ask, because you fell to Mid-Prairie 63-6. Mm-hmm. Everything you said about Mid-Prairie kind of proved true, and maybe then some on Friday night, and it was obviously a tough game. When you look back at it, though, what lessons do you want your team to learn from what had to be a pretty rough experience?
Yeah, it was a learning opportunity as well. In the fact that we talked all week. We can't dwell on things. And just as in the past, if things don't go well, we always try to put it behind us. We had the big homecoming win, and we dwelled. And I could sense it a little bit in practice on Tuesday. And, we have this method. We want to put things behind us. And we didn't. I think we were still kind of in homecoming mode on Tuesday and Wednesday in practice. And I got a little bit of a sense, and you don't want to alarm people. But you do say something, hey, fellas, we got to focus up here. It's one game now. Right, and, this last week, and we didn't win the Super Bowl last week. It was just a game, and I think it carried over into the game. Now, I won't take anything away from Mid-Prairie, because they lined up and beat us the way a good team should. I mean, they just did what they were supposed to do, and they were excellent. I think that's probably that game. I saw them play us is probably the most impressive I've seen. And we played Williamsburg last year. No discredit to Williamsburg. They were a runner-up in the state. Mm-hmm. But I just thought what they did last Friday was just phenomenal. They were physical, they were fast, they tackled well. I was very impressed with them.
Offensively, your run game had a lot of success the last few weeks. Couldn't get much of anything going against Mid-Prairie. How much of that can you attribute to maybe things your kids did or didn't do, and how much of that is just giving credit to the opponent for playing a great game?
A lot of that's to them. When we didn't watch the film much, and I can get back to that a little bit later, but what we did see is our kids were trying. I just think they were physically outmatched. We have a backup quarterback, or a quarterback. He's not really a backup per se. He's just our second quarterback playing left guard, and that just doesn't match up well. They have some size, and they have and I told them that's a 4-year strength and conditioning program you're playing against. We've been in it 1 year, and for our seniors, they started doing it as juniors, so. They've been in it 4 years, and it showed. I think the physicality showed. I think a lot of it was matchup. It wasn't lack of effort on our part. I really don't think so. We were outmatched.
Certainly. So you talk about not watching the video very much. I've heard coaches say after a bad game, you just burn the film and get on with it. Mm-hmm. Is that kind of the mentality this week? All right, that game happened. Ceremonially, if not actually physically, we're going to burn this video, and we're just going to go on to get ready for this week.
In some ways, yes. And the point that we wanted to make was, and I hope they learned from this, was, you know what, we told you, don't dwell on things. Don't dwell on a loss. Don't dwell on a win. And we dwelled on that win. Now, we're willing to put this one behind us as coaches if you're willing to accept the fact that that's the way we move forward in the future, that we'll put a big loss behind us. We'll put a big win behind us. As soon as Friday and Saturday are over, it's time to go to the next one. And that was the lesson. I think if they learn that lesson, that's the best thing in the long term that will help us, because we have a lot of underclassmen that will be back next year. And if we do get a big win or a big loss next year, and it's bound to happen one way or the other, I think they can look back and reflect, hey, fellas, remember now, this is how we go forward from here on out. I think that's the bigger picture lesson that we can learn from that, because it was one we wanted to put behind us.
Yeah. All right. We talk a lot about quarterback Carson Mater each week, not just because he's the quarterback, but because, like you said, he's one of those young players who's going to be here for the next 2 seasons. The numbers from Friday aren't great, of course, but he completed more passes than he missed. He didn't throw any interceptions, and he really accounted for most of the offense you were able to generate. Would it be fair to say you still saw some growth in him and from him, even though it was in a game, I should say, where not a lot went right?
Particularly with his feet. He had some positive, we had some sacks, but if you take away the sacks, where he was absolutely running the ball with purpose when it was part of the play design, he did some good things, and it showed me, and those are reads. Those aren't just, it's a quarterback keep. Those are reads that we're doing, and it shows me, because he runs well. He'll run a 200. He'll sprint a 200 in the 23s as a freshman. So he's got some speed, and we have to utilize that and make that a part of what we do. And I think he kind of found that out, that he can run with purpose and not have to be just out there scrambling to get away from a rush. So he can be a part of the attack, and that was big. Not throwing any picks. He missed on a few early. I think he was, overstriding. I think if you can imagine a pitcher coming off the mound and overstriding too much, the release point's going to be higher. And I think he was overstriding and trying to put too much into the throw, and we had some balls drift on us and go a little bit higher. But I think after that, he settled in and did a nice job.
All right, and before we get into Central Lee, I want to talk a little bit about the defense. Obviously, it was a tough game last Friday, but you didn't focus too much on that or dwell on that. But moving forward, where do you want to see your defense show improvement going into this final game?
Tackling. And I thought we'd made some great strides, and then last week I think we kind of reverted. When we watched the film as coaches, heads were down, things like that. So we got to tackle. They say it's the first thing to leave and the last thing to come back. So, you have to, it takes time, and it's hard to practice tackling live when you don't have a deep roster, a deep team. So that's hurt us a little bit, but I think we need to tackle better. That's essential. They're a 92% run team, and they'll probably come out and throw the ball all over them. But they run the ball 92% of the time, so we have to be able to tackle.
All right. Now, you talk about being a young team and not being able to live tackle, and it brings me to another thought I had. You're coming into the final game of the season, and I go way back to early in the year on this show. You talk about trying to get your young guys through the season, hopefully mostly healthy. Where are you health-wise going into your final game?
Well, we get Riley Heller back, and he just got cleared today. He didn't practice all week, and he was thrilled to be back. We'll get him back. We're going to lose Dalton Main. Has been a player that's come off the bench at times and done a fantastic job with the pulled muscle. He'll be out. Gunnar Bowes is a backup lineman, a sophomore. Dalton's a junior. He'll be out with an elbow problem. Other than that, Clay Collier is still a question mark, and that'll be just a game time decision with Clay.
All right. Now you end the season we talked about against Central Lee. You beat them 46-27 a year ago. They hadn't won a game since 2017. They go out last week and they stun Eddyville 28-21. I'm sure a lot of people, maybe outside the program, looked at the schedule and said, oh, the Central Lee at the end of the year, that'll be another win. But I know the way they played last week and the way they've run the ball the last few weeks has to have caught your attention.
Absolutely, and we're not a team that can afford to do that, to look at the schedule and say, oh, that's a W. Because that's what happens to us.
Oh, I said outside the program.
Yeah,
I know you know.
Yes. But, I know that players and the fans and parents and coaches even too, because sometimes they start doing math. Well, let's see, they beat us by 7, we beat them by 14. It should be even. It doesn't work like that. It's all about matchups, and I thought they matched up real well with Eddyville. I think they played very emotional. You can see it. You can see their emotion on film. They were fired up, and Eddyville was coming off a brutal loss to Mid-Prairie, much like we are. We're coming off a very, very demoralizing loss, and I challenged our guys. We got to rise above that. So it's certainly nobody we're taking for granted, and we can't afford to. As we said, it's going to be it's a good matchup. I think it's going to be a good game.
Now, offensively, you mentioned they run the ball 92% of the time. They haven't even completed a pass in 2 weeks. I think their quarterback's 0 for 7 each of the last 2 weeks, and they only completed one pass a week before that. But they've had 5 100-yard rushing performances in the past 3 weeks. 2 guys went over 100 last week. 2 guys went over 100 a couple weeks ago, even though they got beat by Albia. They even had a 100-yard rusher in the loss to Williamsburg. So even in those games where they're getting beat, they're moving the ball on the ground. What makes their rushing attack so much better than it was early in the year? You look at the early in the year stats, they weren't doing this, but they've developed a rushing attack.
They do a lot of things from a lot of different formations. A lot of our preparation has been formation recognition. They're going to be unbalanced. They're going to move people around. They're going to give you some really strange looks. They got people back there. They've got athletes. Their quarterback can run the football. They have tailbacks that run the football. They'll run the jet sweep. And at some points, you'll see 4 to 6 hands back there ready for the snap. So which one it's going to, it's a lot of just misdirection, a lot of alignment things. They do a nice job with their personnel and getting them the ball.
Now, defensively, Central Lee's given up a lot of yards and a lot of points this season, but one reason they won last week, they forced 4 turnovers out of EBF. So is that something you've stressed to the kids this week? They got to hang on to the football because Central Lee may not be able to slow people down the way they want to, but they've been opportunistic.
Yes, they have, and you saw they had a pick 6 on film, and so they'll be opportunistic, and I think they've created that through pressure, bringing pressure and trying to create force mistakes by the quarterback if you're throwing or just, bringing pressure and whacking the ball loose, things like that. So we from the very first practice, we preach ball security. We're always high and tight carrying the ball, and our quarterback should always have two hands on the ball. But you know how the game changes everything. As soon as the bullets are flying, things are a little bit different. So, but we will preach that, and that's been what's made them successful, being aggressive, and we anticipate to come out and, they'll be blitzing and things like that, and hopefully we'll be prepared.
Now, it is senior night tomorrow night. I want to ask you about the seniors, but I'll hold that off for a moment because I want to go back to what you said about the kids. Kind of homecoming lingered with them a couple of days, but the good side of it was you thought they had a really good week of homecoming leading up to that game, and that turned out to be a victory. Is senior night kind of a similar thing? I know you don't have as many the during the week activities, but is that kind of the same approach that you want to have to a game that's going to be an emotional, your last game, your last home game and last game overall for the senior class?
Yeah, the preparation is the distractions are there, but not as much as homecoming. And I think, if anything, there's probably more dial in from your seniors than you get the whole time, because unlike any other sport, there's a sense of finality to football. There's not any pickup football games. There's no YMCA adult men's football pickup leagues and things like that. So when you take the helmet off and you smell the grass and the helmets and the sweats and the pads for the last time, you're ending a part of your life. A part of your life that's been as a young man, and there's a sense of finality to it. And we make that very clear to them. And there's something special about putting a helmet on, and I fully expect our kids to come out and play really hard for each other, for the seniors. And I'm looking forward to it. I thought we prepared well all week despite potential distractions, because the last week they were a little bit loosey-goosey, but they weren't. They were dialed in, so my compliments to them.
All right. Now, did I count correctly, 10 seniors on the roster?
Yes, sir.
Okay. They've been in the program with you now 2 years, most of them anyway, about to play their final game. Now that you're finishing up your second year, what has this senior class meant to the Davis County program?
Perseverance. They've gone through. We have a chance if we win. It would give us 6 W's in the last 2 years. I don't know if we had that many in the last 5 going in. So they've come through a program it's hard to come through coaching changes and changes in your staff, and you have to buy in and you have to believe. And here comes this new guy. I'm the new guy, and they have to buy in and believe. And they've never once wavered in that. And it has nothing to do with me as the coach. I just think they're the type of kids, if I would have brought in, just my daughter as the coach, they'd have bought in. There's just those kind of kids that they'll just buy into anything, and it's a compliment to their upbringing. It's a compliment to them as individuals that they'll buy in, and that's what I remember. They've been all the way. I never, ever have to look at my seniors twice in a meeting to know if they're focused up. They're right there in the front row. They're the front row guys, and it was that way last year. It'll be this way this year, and probably next year the seniors will be dialed in on the front row. There's just something special about seniors.
And finally, every week, or pretty much every week, I've asked you, win or lose, what do you want to see out of your kids in the upcoming game? And this being the final game, obviously, the kids are going to come back. You're hoping to see growth and something they can carry into the offseason. For the seniors, of course, we talked about it's the end of the road for them. What would you like to see out of your kids, win or lose, that tells you that, hey, we got to the end of this journey, this 2019 season, we did it the right way?
A sense of accomplishment. I think we've had games where we felt we weren't whole. We didn't have that final sense of accomplishment. Against Albia homecoming, obviously we did, and even in our victory against Van Buren, I didn't feel that there was that sense of, well, we did it right. There was too many things. I think I would love to see that sense of total accomplishment, there's that Y.A. Tittle picture, when you just see a man exhausted on the field in victory. That's what you want to see. I just love to see our kids, that they spent every cent they had and every bit of emotion they had in the entire game, and hopefully they come out victorious, that they knew they gave it their all, that final sense of, I gave everything. That's what I'd like to see.
Davis County head coach Kent Anderson here on the Lee's Photography Coach's Corner. Coach, certainly best of luck tomorrow night. We will do the wrap-up show next Thursday night, and hopefully you'll be coming back here to talk about one more great win for Davis County to wrap up the season and give you a lot of momentum going into the offseason.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
And Davis County head coach Kent Anderson. Coming up, we're going to talk Cardinal football. We'll be joined by Cardinal assistant coach Rich Mason to talk about the Comets as they get ready for their final game, a tough test at home versus Class A number 9 BGM. That comes your way next. It is the Lee's Photography Coach's Corner here on the Ottumwa Radio Sports Network.
Are you looking for someone to capture the special moments in life, such as senior photos, weddings, family portraits, baby pictures, or even your furry friends? Look no further than Lee's Photography in Ottumwa to schedule your appointment. Brian, Connie, and the staff at Lee's Photography have the knowledge and experience to capture your special moments and make your vision come to life. Visit them on Facebook to see the range of their work. Lee's Photography on East 2nd Street, across from the Courier in Ottumwa, for all your all-around photography needs. Welcome back to the Lee's Photography Coach's Corner on the Ottumwa Radio Sports Network.
And welcome back to the Lee's Photography Coach's Corner here on 1240 AM, 102.7 FM KBIZ, and the live video stream at AttumwaRadioSports.com. Jason Van Arkel joining, I knew I was going to do that, Cardinal assistant coach Rich Mason in his first year as an assistant with Cardinal, as Cardinal gets ready to take on BGM Friday night. And yeah, we've done this a time or two before, so it's good to have you back on the Coaches Show. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, awesome, man. Good to see you, too. Thank you.
I'm glad you came on tonight. You've been working with Cardinal all season. And last Friday, let's talk about the game against Highland, a 27-20 loss, narrow loss. You guys fought your way back, got within a score, just ran out of time. And I think last Friday was both a sign of how far Cardinal has come and maybe a bit of also how frustrating this past month has been for you guys.
For sure.
A year ago, Highland shuts Cardinal out 46-0. It wasn't competitive. Friday night, you're down 20. You cut it down to one score. And like I said, you run out of time. Coach Miller has said you guys don't celebrate losses. But what do you tell the kids after a game like that about how far they've come and how hard they fought last Friday night?
I mean, I think it's pretty important. You know, even today, we had our last practice, of the season. And one thing that we made sure that we talked to all the returning guys about was how far we've come as a program. You know, what were our margins of victory or margins of defeat in the 2018 season compared to what they are this year. You know, so even the games that we've lost, there's some victories to be taken from that. And now understanding what is it going to take for us to go to the next level. And what's the investment that guys are going to have to put in, this coming off season, and whether they play other sports or not. What we're trying to build and what his vision has been is an across the board, big time step up to the next level. Not just football, but all the sports as well. So I think that he and Mr. Pedersen, our superintendent, and all the people that are involved in that have really been trying to create that. And create, some different positions for people, even like myself, that come in and try to help, try to help get to that point.
Now, the kids certainly had high hopes this year entering district play. They were on a mission to prove that they weren't the same team they were last year. I think they've proven that, but they've been close, certainly more than once, including last week, but the results are what they are. You talk about having that last practice of the season today. How was the mood, for lack of a better word, with this team? How do they bounce back in practice, not just tonight, but throughout the week?
I mean, I think the mood has been a positive one. We try to, obviously, anytime you're going into a game, you want to keep things as positive as possible. Make sure they're thinking good thoughts, but, any tweaks that need to be made, any mistakes that need to be fixed, we get that done. But I think the mood is good. I think the mood's positive. And I think the guys understand that we have an opportunity to do some good things. So I think that fact in itself helps keep that a positive thing.
I've been talking, and I've asked every coach we've had on here this year about injuries going through the course of a season, and I know that you guys have been missing Gabe Reyes for several weeks now,
Sure.
and the last couple of weeks, Coach Miller and Coach Archer last week were saying hopefully he can get back on the field. So what's his status for tomorrow night?
I mean, we plan on using him some. You know, he was able to play a little bit against Highland. Definitely not nearly in the role that he had become used to early in the season and what we hope to have all year, but it was good to see him back out there, so he'll play some tomorrow. Get a chance to let him run around a little bit, and yeah, you know, injuries are what they are. They're kind of a part of the game, and they're a reality that we all have to deal with. And so it's obviously how are you, you know, as a staff and as a team going to deal with those. And you know, for the most part, we've had some guys step up, so that's been good.
Now, outside of Gabe, again, you've played through 8 games. Tough physical season, certainly one of the toughest districts, maybe the toughest district in Class A, top to bottom. How's the rest of the team physically going into the final game? I know everybody's going to be a little dinged up, obviously, but in terms of injuries, where are you guys heading into tomorrow night?
Yeah, I mean, definitely get into week 9 of a season. I mean, there's going to be some guys playing through some things, but I think we all feel good about where we're at physically. You know, a couple guys that we should be able to either get back or get you know, more healthy than they were last week when they played some after missing some time. So we feel pretty good about that. Like I said, Gabe, I mean, we're excited about him being able to do some good things. You know, Max Betancourt's coming back. You know, hopefully Connor, our left tackle, Connor Mason, will be able to do some things for us too. So we'll see how that goes.
And I imagine the guys that have been dinged up and they're trying to work their way back, I imagine there's a real sense of urgency. Maybe you can see it in the work they do, maybe the rehab they do. They want to get back for this final game. No one wants to spend that final game on the sideline wearing a jersey and jeans.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, there's probably a couple of those guys who, you know, did some practicing last week that you know, you could tell they were really, really trying to get back, and that they probably still didn't get to play as much as they thought they should. But, I mean, we have to be smart, not only about, you know, how much can we get out of a guy given his health situation, but also is he being smart about his own health going forward? You know, he's got other things he wants to do too. So, yeah, man, I think that getting those guys back should give us a good shot in the arm.
All right. We've talked a lot with Coach Miller, especially about Maddox Jones this season. Obviously, district play has been tougher sledding for him at the quarterback spot than the first 4 games. But now that you've basically had a season, you know, with him, watching him play, coaching, in what areas can he improve his game the most? And then when you look ahead, because he's only a sophomore, how good can he become over the next 2 seasons?
Sky's the limit for Maddox. You know, one thing I'm looking forward to is getting an off season with him. Obviously, there's a lot of things that he can still learn about just the game, just the intricacies of football. And at his position, it's important for you to know what's going on across the board on the whole field. And that's, you know, as a young guy, you know, you kind of have to install things that are so super relevant to him and in his position. So sometimes he doesn't always, you know the intricate things that's going on at this position, but it's all relevant, you know. I mean, and he's starting to learn that now. Obviously, having some tougher opponents, he's starting to learn that it's very important for him to understand what this person's doing too, and where he's supposed to be, and you know, that's passing game, run game, all of it. Obviously, we've seen over the last couple of weeks, you know, sometimes out of necessity having Gabe and having Max out, but you know, also he's a very good linebacker. You know, I mean, he's a very good defensive player, and if he wasn't our quarterback, you know, then that's what he'd be.
Sure.
And so sometimes it's nice to be able to highlight that part of his mentality in the offensive side as well, letting him run with it and stuff. I mean, because he really, really wants to run, and he really likes to get physical with people, so that's fun too.
Now, we'll talk about BGM in a moment and checking how much time. We got about 4 minutes left here, but you talk about wanting to get Maddox into the offseason, and with all these young guys, you know, the season ends, and then they may play other sports, and I'm sure you encourage them to play other sports.
Absolutely.
But when you get into the offseason, how important is that? Because I know you want to get these kids in the weight room, and Coach Miller's talked about it, want to get them bigger and stronger, and I'll probably talk more with him next week in the wrap-up show about it. But obviously, after the last 2 seasons Cardinals had and the improvement that we've seen, that offseason is going to be so huge for this program.
Sure. Well, I mean, obviously, one of the biggest things that Coach Miller was able to do when he came was to get the weight training part of the curriculum in the school day. So 90% of those guys have the weightlifting class. Coach McIntyre has been doing a great job with them. And for the couple that don't, there's times that they can come in and get some work as well. The off season, I think, is good because you have that, and then you can also have some expectations, on top of that for those guys who maybe aren't playing another sport. Most of them do, but the winter is probably the time where the least amount of them are. You get into the spring and the summer, and all of them are pretty much quite busy. So yeah, the winter. We'll make sure those guys are lifting. Obviously, the nutrition side of it is huge, and those are things that you just have to give information, and just try to force feed that, because they can take us as far as they can go when it comes to nutrition, but they have to have the information. So we're excited about them growing.
All right, you play BGM. They're number 9 in Class A in the Radio Iowa poll. They're 7-1.
Mm-hmm.
They gave up 26 points in their season opener, and they haven't given up more than 18 in a game since. They really hang their hat on defense. What makes, when you look at them, what makes them so tough to move the ball on and to score on?
Their defensive line is good. They get after it. They play really, really hard. I think as a team they play really hard, and that's a goal of ours. To see the level that they go about it, and for us to emulate that. At the same time, we feel confident about the things we're able to do offensively, and if we can execute what we've been working on all week, if we can execute that, then we can put points on the board for sure. But they're definitely a good football team. We have all the respect in the world, but I hope that helps us raise our level a little bit.
And finally, tomorrow is senior night for the squad. Coach Miller has talked about the leadership that I think it's 12 of, I counted right, 12 seniors on the roster.
Yeah, 11 or 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
But those guys have had to provide leadership for so many young guys that you had to play. Obviously, this is the end of your first year at Cardinal, but how much have these seniors meant to the Comets, and how far the team has come while they've been in the program?
Oh, those guys have been huge. They've been very instrumental in the growth over the last couple of years. Obviously, all those guys are they've been with Coach Miller for the most part for their whole high school career, so to speak. So, they've bought into what he's putting down, and they help other guys to see, kind of the end goal of what he's telling them. So, we'll definitely miss them. Obviously, some really good players in that group, but hopefully they'll continue to mentor some young guys as they grow and as they go on to other things.
Cardinal assistant coach Rich Mason talking Comet football again. They host number 9 BGM tomorrow night. It's senior night for the Comets. Rich, I certainly hope you guys get a big upset win to wrap up the season. It'd be great to knock off BGM. It's good to have you on the show again. I miss talking to you.
Thank you.
It's good to see you again. I'm glad you're doing well at Cardinal, and again, we'll be really pulling for the Comets tomorrow night.
Awesome. Thank you. We're looking forward to it.
All right. That'll do it for the Lee's Photography Coaches Corner as we're wrapping up. And when we take this last time out afterwards, we're going to continue with live programming because we'll go to, I think it's at Evans Middle School, the League of Women Voters School Board Candidate Forum is coming your way next. Ellis Kojo hosting our live coverage of that. That's coming your way next. Thanks for tuning in to the Lee's Photography Coaches Corner. Big night of football tomorrow night. We will have a wrap-up show next Thursday night. Be sure to catch it right here on the Ottumwa Radio Sports Network.